conventional boxing is Kenny Weldon. Much better coach, fighter, human being than I will ever be. Rest in peace. Used to always say, God bless him, and I mean that seriously. Boxing is hitting your opponent from a maximum distance with maximum leverage while not getting hit. What an amazing human being, what an amazing man, and what an amazing way to break down boxing, or at least my first 2 decades of it. But then I met some professional heavyweight boxers who were height challenged and weight challenged, by the way, who were in horrible shape, but made a decent career as inside fighters. And I realized that a lot of MMA fighters do this. They're pressure fighters. They're not boxing. They're causing pressure. They're doing the exact difference, the exact opposite, the antithesis, something antithetical to this Muhammad Ali, amateur, Cuban amateur, Russian amateur boxing. Diego Corrales did this too. His coach had him do it. It's called fighting out of a rhythm. Back and forth, using distance, using feints, not getting hit. Peekaboo is totally different. First and foremost, you see how the rear shoulder is right behind the front shoulder? It's almost like this type of pattern. With Peekaboo, the shoulders are almost lined up. The rear shoulder is just behind the front shoulder. It's designed for moving in on angles. It's designed for the shorter opponent so that they can slip their head on the inside. It's called a dip. And uncork these power shots that you really can't do from just a normal 90-degree slip or a parry or a block. It's designed for this different stance where the boxer's spine is pitched over, where he's forward, almost like a wrestling stance. If you ever wrestled, the first thing they teach you is fingers together, get your elbows in, get a collar tie, snap the guy's neck down. It's almost identical to a wrestling stance in terms of where the shoulders are. But the hands, and this is what a lot of people miss with Peekaboo, the hands are not here. This is perfect position for a classic boxing stance. Peekaboo stance, the front hand is brought in. It's no longer out. I mean, some styles like the long Russian guard style, which it's so effective and people really haven't, almost every MMA fighter uses this and every Muay Thai fighter uses it. And boxers aren't allowed to. Just posting the arm, it becomes a form of a guard. When you're literally just contacting the other fighter, using that contact with either hand to set up these power shots. Peekaboo doesn't have that. It's not like the Philly shell where we're bumping and blocking. The idea with the Peekaboo style is you're using head feints, you're feinting your way out of the way like Tyson Fury used to do when he was more disciplined, and completely making the opponent miss and moving inside in an angle. Like I said, it's not a dip, it's not a lateral slip to a punch coming in. It's moving forward when the punch comes in to enable you that extra power on those power shots. So what's really important with the Peekaboo style, first and foremost, besides the shoulders, of course, not being in this position where, Boss Root needs to talk to me a lot about it in person. The right hand is really, when you have the shoulders forward, when you're fighting like this, Boss Root almost created his own Peekaboo style. Your right hand is ready to go. It's loaded up. Whereas from this classical boxing position, you may be able to get off one, but that's it. That's the reason why they have a double right hand out of the classic boxing position, as they taught us in the amateurs. Rotate 45 degrees, don't pull back, and then rotate another 45. Because you can almost rotate twice forward out of that classical boxing stance. And, almost like TJ Dillashaw, getting to a point where you're fighting like this with the rear shoulder forward sometimes. He almost created that as a kamai, as a stance, as an effective fighting stance. So, first and foremost with Peekaboo, shoulders forward, elbows in, hands high, chin down. You're going to be blocking with this part of the head when you do get hit, the back of the hands, the shoulders, taking shots on the forearms, and fighting out of that high guard, using the slip jab, using the slip to with your shots and dipping and ribbing, as we just covered. So these little fundamentals are so important, along with the head fainting, which we really haven't gotten into, and the whole science of square head movement, diagonal head movement, circular head movement on so many different axes and planes, and different circles that you can make as a fighter moving around your fighter, the skip steps, the bump steps. There's a whole science to peekaboo. Guys, let me know what you're interested in learning, what parts of it are most important for you, what parts of it you're